Hi, welcome to another episode of Kweshunga. I am your host Penelope, and I am delighted to have you in this space where we play, we live, and we inspire. I want to thank everyone that has been commenting and liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for joining us every Friday to subscribe to our channel and to follow our conversations. I see you love to play, and I want to invite you into this place of playfulness once again. So this month, I am hosting amazing people, amazing men and women, young and old, beautiful and beautifuler, and all those things. And they're sharing their stories and their journeys on how they play with their spaces, but also how they play with their relationship with people and their relationship with the spaces that they live in. And today, I am deeply, deeply honored to host someone that I not only honor, but also I am inspired by. This is a person that I walk into their space and feel like, oh my goodness, I could die here. In fact, I asked her if she could adopt me because her space is that beautiful. She's a space goddess. She is a people lover. I mean, if you don't fall in love with her, I do not know what's wrong with you, because you are the problem. She is amazing. So allow me introduce my friend and invite her to share her story. And when she's done, I hope you're inspired to make your space beautifuler than you already are. Tash, you're very welcome to Kweshunga.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us your time and your space and for joining us on the show. Please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, because I know I said who you are to me, but for the people who don't know you out there, who's Tash and what does she really do?
Thanks, Penny. Thanks for inviting me. And like you've always known, you're always welcome home.
Yay!
My home's open.
You've heard,
This is
I
an
am
open
welcome home.
Yes. My name's Tash, Natasha Rubadiri, Wanika. And I'm an interior designer, creative in all aspects, founder of Boaz Interiors. And that's really more or less what I do. I'm a mom to 3 adults, more or less out of the nest. And I think that's why I have a lot of you people coming in now, rounding up all the children to come back.
Yes.
But that's who I am, Penny.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hear Boaz, I hear interior design, I hear space, but I also hear people in there, because as a mother and an interior designer, that must be a bit difficult to juggle, because I can imagine when the children were a bit younger, how do you keep a space as beautiful as you as you create it, with little people doing all sorts of things they want to do in the space. But yeah, thank you for bringing us here and for inviting me home. You shall not regret having me as an adopted child.
No, I won't. No, I won't.
So I'm curious, really. Where did this love for space come from? Where does it spring from? Where did it start? Is it because you don't just wake up and become an interior designer? You don't just, arrive. There must have been something. There must have been a thing in there. Some people call it purpose.
Yeah.
Some people call it, a gift.
Yes.
What is it that got you to know that this is what I am interested in? This is who I am, and I must use this gift to bring people to enjoy the beauty of spaces.
Okay. Ooh. I get asked that question a lot, Penny. And funny enough, when I look back at my childhood, when I look at, when I was young, I wasn't that child who had this dream and thought, I want to do design, or I want to do interior design.
Yes.
But as I think more about it, because I get asked a lot, what I do vividly remember, Penny, is my dad was a lecturer at the university. And the highlight for me was him bringing crisp white paper and colors. That's what I remember.
Yes.
Color and paper.
White paper.
What also many might not know about me is that I actually did not start off or specialize in interior design. I specialized in accounts, in finance and business
What?
administration. Yes,
Totally
yes,
divorced.
totally, totally,
Oh my
totally, yes.
goodness.
But as I did my high school, I did art and was extremely, I was very good, very, very good. But at an age where I think as a teenager, I kind of wanted my time. For art, you had to be in school on a Saturday, you know. And I didn't want
Like,
my
I don't want to
weekends.
get
No, I'm not
mine.
going to be in school, you know, on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So I steered away and ended up doing commerce. I did commerce and then ended up doing my BCom. And I always feel it kind of steered me away to where I really should have been. But I also believe that with God there's timing.
Yes,
There's
yes.
always his timing, and the plans that he has for us will always fall in place. So my love for spaces and art then began to, I think, manifest as I grew older and mature and had my own home
Yes.
and began to put furniture, colors, and just put a home together.
Yes.
And I think then the passion and the love for it began to grow and build from there. Shortly after, slowly as the years went, I began to see myself still in my area of finance and
Yes.
admin.
Yes.
But at the same time, I then began
You're
to
drawn
be tagged,
to-
drawn to that
yes.
with the requests of a lot of people walking into my space, into
Saying, "I
my
want
home,
this."
and saying, I want this. Can you come and do this for me? So it really started as a hobby.
Okay.
It really started as a hobby. And so many years later, I find myself in the place that I believe I was called to be.
And indeed, you are called, because when anybody looks at the spaces you have touched or the things you have been with and worked on, it's just an art. It's a work of art, and it's God in there, and that makes me wonder how you do it, because there's having the gift, but there's also the process. There's the discipline, there's the investment, and sometimes I think we underlook those things. We think that you just wave a magic wand and you have a beautiful space, but I know there's a lot that goes into that. So when you're setting up spaces, different spaces, because I know you've set up quite a number, what's going on in your mind? What do you want the people who walk into that space to feel, to see, to touch, to what are those feelings you want to invoke in the people you're creating for? But also, what's the process happening with your own heart and your mind?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really good question and a deep one. And I'm just honored to share with you and say, Penny, that which I have in my hands is a gift.
Yes.
God gave me this gift. There's a scripture that says that when Paul said that I boast of nothing,
Yes.
I am
But no,
so
that-
keenly aware of that. And what brought it to light is, at some point, you know, I gave you a background of myself, but as this hobby
Yes.
began to grow,
Yes.
it was just began to kind of overwhelm and grow, my husband suggested and said, you know what, Tash, I think you're at a point where you need now to
Harness this.
yes, harness
Yeah,
this,
just-
specialize. Why don't you do a course? Of which I did. I did 2 courses in South Africa, and what is just amazing is that as I looked through the theory and went through the notes, and I discovered that every step and my thinking and the process of how I did what I did was already inside
there.
me.
Yes.
It really was in. So it was just understanding, oh, so this is why I do this.
Yes.
This is what balance is all about. This is what harmony is all
Yes.
about. This is what color is all about. So when I say it's a gift, you know, I always show off and say, you know, I work in God's department, in the creative
Right?
department,
Because
because
he
that's where he
creates.
started.
Yeah.
That's where he started. So I can boast that yes, I fall in that department, and I believe it's just inherent. It's just natural.
Amazing.
So it just
Amazing.
flows.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, it's so funny. A lot of people look at interior design and think beauty.
Yes.
All right, beauty.
Yes.
Everything nice or everything expensive. But what's going to surprise you is one of my strengths and abilities and my pain when I go in a space. One of the key things that's important to me, I want to find a place that is organized. And I find that that strength of organization that is so key and valuable to me
Yes.
is what has actually driven me and helped me in all aspects of my
Yes,
life.
yes.
So when I was working with accounts and reconciling, that's organization. When I walk in a space, I can see form of functionality, the process. You're asking me, what's the process? What do you go through?
Yes.
I won't necessarily, and I'll advise anybody, it's not so much about having everything first so beautiful, but let's look at this space that we have.
Yeah.
Let's look at this blank sheet that we have, or let's look at what we have now. Let's first organize.
Yeah.
Let's see that a space is functional for its use,
Yes.
and then let's step in to
To
beautify
beautify it.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Order. I love order so much. I'm those people. At school, my roommate would be like, "Oh my God, Penny's back," because I would know where all my hangers are lined and my bed is neatly, because that order gives me a certain preparation for my heart, and I'm able to function better even with my thought process, because there's order. When I walk into a cluttered room, for some reason joy is stolen from me. There's like, what's going on? My mom used to joke when we were kids that, you know, God does not dwell in dirty spaces, and so if your room is dirty, then God is not there. And so whereas it was a thing of fear, we started cleaning because we were afraid of not having God in our space. And now it has become a thing that we live with, because who lives without order, really?
You know, I love that you say that, because it's one of my beliefs that I just think, you know, when a lot of people come into this space, my response is, God lives here.
Yes.
God dwells
Yes.
here.
Yes.
There's a sense of peace. Like you said, there's
calm,
order, there's
order,
calm.
yeah.
And it's not so much about what I do. It's about what comes from inside out. And I think when you talk about the process and putting a space together, I think when anybody is putting a space, or when you walk in any space, I think the first impression anyone gets is an impression of who the owner of that space is.
Yes.
I could ask you now and say, what do you feel sitting in this space?
Yes.
And I think that then should echo back and show who Tash is, who reflect on who I am. So when you say God don't like ugly, no, he don't.
No, he don't. It's
no,
true.
He don't, you know.
It's true, he don't.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting. So one of the things that I struggle with is, especially with people my age, is that we're waiting for big money to do big things, and we fail to work with even just the small. So one of my friends shares a story where she worked in a shared space, and she bought a little carpet for her space and put the carpet and made her space neat and organized. How do we, I don't even know how we do it. I don't even think you have an answer to this, but how do we get people to understand that it's not the big things with spaces? It's not the big couch, it's not the 50 or 55-inch screen, it's not the huge, it's the small things and how neatly placed they are. And you don't need millions to do that, because order starts here in the heart and then it goes to the head and it manifests. What would you say to people who are seeking, first of all, to amass so much wealth and then create order rather than working with what they already have to create order and space for more things to come?
Okay. All right. So I think I love too that you've asked that question. One of the philosophies of Boaz interiors is less is more.
Yes.
Less is
Less is
more.
always more.
I am a firm believer, given even my background and my upbringing. I'm from a very humble family
Yes.
background.
Yes.
Blessed to have been exposed to different cultures, different countries, loving parents, and I think part of that is what has made me who I am, and been able to even just create in whichever space I am. I always say, I'll say to anybody, put me in a little box, put me in a mansion, put me in Buckingham Palace,
Yes.
wherever you put me, I will
I will
make
thrive.
something
Yeah.
beautiful out of that space.
Yes.
Like I said, function, order, and beauty. But secondly, I also would like to encourage a lot of you young people that I think we have a mentality in your generation where everybody just thinks you wake up and you're thinking big, you want all the things.
Yes.
And life and God is about stewardship. It's part of my testimony and my story. If He can trust you and entrust you with the little, like you said, can you take care of, like you said, that little space?
Yes.
You then begin to grow because you value.
Yes.
You start with valuing that. Like you said, most people, you start with your little home, you
Yes.
get your little rug,
Yes.
and then you get your little tea set, and then you begin to grow.
You begin to
You
collect
see?
small little
Yes,
things.
but I
Yes.
do think it's a misconception that the place should have a wow factor or look beautiful because you have money. My space, as you can see, is not about money. Another way that I encourage my clients to balance is you can always balance with something that's of value and costs a lot,
Yes.
and then bring in something that is not
Less.
so. Yes. And you know what I like about Uganda? I
You
mean,
can
you
find
can
things.
find
Yes,
anything
beautiful
and
things.
beautiful stuff. We have
are so
creative hands.
blessed.
We have artists.
Yes.
We have a carpenter. You might
Even our
just spot
culture itself is really
everything
rich. It's
is
very rich. We
rich.
can have
It is
so
such
much
a
to
rich
play
culture.
with.
So look, any corner of the city or the town. I'm looking for, you might spot a nice sofa that
Yeah.
you've seen probably, I'll say, Nina Interiors, and say,
Yes.
oh my gosh, now I can't afford that, but how can I have that done? There's carpenters
Who will
round
do
who
stuff,
will
beautiful
do a
stuff.
replica,
I
who
agree.
will, there's custom made furniture. All I'll just have to say, that's what creativity is about. It's just churning that creativity within yourself to get what you want. Yeah.
Wow. And just before we finish, so I love passing on because that's what stewardship is. I'm
Yes.
holding space for
Yes.
other people.
Yes.
I'm holding space so other people can come into that space and also thrive. And I know that earlier we talked about you passing on this gift that you have to different people. Please
Yes.
tell us about that, and maybe
About
we can invite some people into that
Okay.
space so that they can also grow, but also sit at your feet and learn. There's a thing about stewardship and mentorship. So
Yes, yes,
please speak into
yes.
that.
Yeah, I love that you asked that question too, because I am in a season, in a place in my life where thankfully I can look and see spaces that I have left untouched and just left a bit of myself. But I'm still wrestling like Jacob and wrestling with God and saying, I know that there's so much more that I have to do and that you've called me to do. How then can I reach the numbers? How then can I impart?
Yes.
How then can I teach and share what's in my hands and what you've placed? You know what? The COVID-19, season
Yes.
and lockdown has come with its own silver lining. The silver lining for me, I think, has been a place of introspect
Yes.
and saying, all right, Tash, here you are, you have this in your hands. Just like he asked, he said to Moses and said,
Yes.
what's that in
What
your
is
hand?
it? Yeah,
what
what
is
is it
that
you
in your
have?
hand? And one of the ideas I have, and I'm putting together, watch this space, is putting together master classes
Yes.
and just lessons that I could get, where I can invite all young ladies like you who are looking and saying, where do I start?
Yeah.
What do I do? How do I do this? And then be able to reach bigger numbers than be restricted in just the numbers that I can reach. Another way too that I've been doing it over the years is been having the interested and mentees who've walked alongside of me, who've picked from me.
Yes.
I worked in the decor business as well for quite a number of years, and then kind of retired a little bit on that. So it's just good to see that you can, there's so many avenues and ways of being able to do that, but I think the key word is being intentional and starting and starting.
I'm
So-
glad that
so
you're
you
doing
challenge
that
me
masterclass.
you challenge me with this. Yes,
I am
You
super
challenge me
excited
with
about
this,
the masterclass. I will be your #1 client. I
Okay.
shall be the first to enroll because I love spaces. I believe that spaces contribute to our mental well-being and also our heart health, because when you walk into a space and you're unable to function and you're unable to move and breathe,
Yes,
there's a
yes,
problem.
yes.
Also, when you walk into a space like
Yes,
this
yes.
and there's air, there's life, there's energy, a
Yes.
certain vibe rubs off of you and you're able to thrive in the things that you do. When I said you should adopt me, I was serious because if I lived here, I would totally be on a high every single day.
Yeah.
And I think we all need a bit of that. So thank you so much for even putting yourself out there to do this masterclass. And I know there are so many people watching us now that will want to join the masterclass. I shall give you the details since I've just been adopted into the family. But before we even say goodbye to you for this dose of Kweshunga, I want to remind you that spaces are an integral part of your being. And it's important for you to take care of you, but also to take care of your space. And you don't need so much to do that. Tash said it. You need to just create order, and you don't need a lot of money to do that. You need to work with what you already have, but also you need to be mindful that you're doing this to create happiness for you and for the people around you. So it's also about the people who are going to be in your space, not just about you. I know people who hoard things. They've collected and collected
Yes.
things because the things make them happy. And it doesn't quite work out when other people visit the space.
That's
so
true.
in terms of order, it's all jumbled up.
And just
Yeah.
probably just to add as you finish off
Yeah.
is that again, having a beautiful space is not so much about people from outside coming in.
Yes.
You hear of families who say, there are guests coming, clean up,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
clean up the this,
Dust
do
all
this
the
and
cobwebs.
all of that.
Yes.
I think it starts from
With
it
here,
starts
yes.
within. And for me, what is key and what is the just within my heart is that what's important is that just for the dwellers and my family, and knowing that my children have been brought up in a space like that. You asked something interesting. You said, how did it start? Like with your kids, did you have things as they were? And what's so funny is I think our children just carried our temperament. I have never had to think that for once I moved stuff.
Things,
So
yeah.
they have learned to live in the
In the
space
order that's
and
already
appreciate.
created.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a culture that they have adopted as
Yes,
themselves, and
yes.
now as they grow out and into their own spaces, carry on with that.
And that's a
with that
very
culture,
key
which
issue
I
with
think is-
leadership,
yes,
because you
yeah.
are leading them.
Yes.
in a way to fit within what order has been created.
Yes.
We don't always create our own order.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are forced to live in an order that's already prescribed for us.
Yes.
And so knowing how to navigate that and not lose yourself is a
Yes.
very key
Yeah,
tenet of leadership.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
That's
Tash,
true.
if you had to say one last thing to our viewers and our listeners,
Wow.
what would that one last thing about spaces be?
One of the, I think that the last thing, or what the takeaway I'd give to everyone is that simple is more. You don't have to own a bank,
Yes.
rob a bank. Everything beautiful and creative is easily accessible. And if you need help, you can get help.
Yes.
There's some people I do appreciate who just don't have the inclination
Yes.
or just don't know where to start. But there's always that help.
Yes.
And there's always someone who's out there to help. So, well, let's watch out for this masterclass.
That's
Yes,
right. We really
yes,
can't wait for the
yeah,
masterclass. Thank you
yes.
so much for staying tuned to this dose of Kweshunga, and we hope you have learned a lot from Tash and that you will learn a bit more even with the coming guests that we will be having. Don't forget to be awesome. Do not forget that less is more, and don't forget to create spaces for function and also for beauty. Don't forget that spaces contribute to your mental health and your heart health, and therefore it's important for us to have spaces that speak to who we are and what it is we want to achieve in life. Thank you so much. See you next time.